10 years ago, I lived in a small, picturesque village surrounded by rolling hills and lush forests. Life was simple, but it was also filled with lessons that would shape the person I am today. I was only 18 years old, young, naive, and full of dreams. Back then, I believed in fairy tales and happy endings. But life had other plans for me, and one of those plans came in the form of a boy named Alex. Alex was 23 years old, tall, and undeniably handsome. He had a charm that made everyone around him feel special, and I was no exception. Many girls in the village had a crush on him, and I was one of them. To me, he was kind, funny, and the kind of person who could sweep you off your feet. But not everyone shared my opinion. My mother warned me, "Alex is not a good boy. Stay away from him." My aunt echoed her concern, saying, "He's trouble. He's not the kind of person you want to be involved with." But I didn't listen. I was young and in love, and I believed I could see the real Alex, the one no one else seemed to understand. One Saturday night, there was a dance party in the village. It was a rare event, and my friends and I were excited to go. My mother, however, was hesitant. "It's not safe," she said. "I don't want you going out so late." I begged her, promising to stay with my friends, and she finally relented. The party started off small, but as the night went on, more people arrived. The music was lively, and the atmosphere was electric. And then Alex walked in. My heart skipped a beat when he looked at me and smiled. He asked me to dance, and I couldn't say no. We danced together, his hand in mine, and during the breaks, we talked and laughed. He made me feel like I was the only girl in the room. When the party ended, Alex suggested we go for a drive. I was thrilled. He had a nice car, one that everyone in the village admired. We drove around the village, the stars shining above us, and for a while I felt like I was living in a dream. But then, Alex drove to a lonely, dark place. There were no lights, no people, just silence. He stopped the car and turned to me, his eyes intense. He leaned in, trying to kiss me, but I pulled away. "No, Alex," I said, "I want to go home." He didn't listen. He grabbed my hand and tried to touch me. I pushed him away, shouting, "Stop, Alex." But he just got angry. "You're boring," he said, opening the car door and pushing me out. I was alone in the dark, miles from home. My feet hurt, my shoes were ruined, and I was terrified. I walked 3 kilometers in the cold, my heart breaking with every step. When I finally got home, I sat on my bed and cried. The boy I thought I loved had betrayed me in the worst way. The next day, I told my friends what had happened. They weren't surprised. "Alex is always like this," they said. "He did the same to us." I asked why they hadn't warned me, and they replied, "Everyone knows. We thought you knew too." That night taught me an important lesson. I realized that love isn't always what it seems, and sometimes the people we trust the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. But it also made me stronger. I stopped thinking about Alex and focused on building a better life for myself. 2 years later, I moved to the city. It was a big change, but I was ready for it. The village had become a place of painful memories, and I needed a fresh start. I found a job at a small, cozy bookstore in the heart of the city. I loved the smell of books and the quiet atmosphere. Every day, I walked to work, enjoying the rhythm of city life. One day, it started raining. I didn't have an umbrella, so I stood under a tree, waiting for the rain to stop. That's when I met Daniel. He was tall, kind, and holding a big red umbrella. "Do you need help?" he asked. I nodded, grateful for his offer. He walked me to the bookstore, and we talked along the way. His name was Daniel, and he worked in an office nearby. Before he left, he asked, "Can I see you again?" I smiled and said, "Maybe." The next day, Daniel came to the bookstore. He bought a book, and then another. Soon, he was coming every day. We talked about books, movies, and life. Daniel was funny and thoughtful, and he made me laugh in a way I hadn't in years. One day, he asked me out for coffee. I said yes, and we went to a small cafe near the bookstore. It was nice, just the two of us, talking and laughing. Daniel told me about his family, his dreams of traveling the world, and his love for his younger sister. I told him about my life too. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was truly connecting with someone. We started spending more time together, going to the park, watching movies, and exploring museums. I was happy, but then, one day, Daniel stopped coming to the bookstore. A week passed, then two. I felt sad and confused. Where was he? I wanted to call him, but I didn't have his number. One evening, as I walked home in the rain, I saw a familiar red umbrella. It was Daniel, waiting for me outside my building. My heart leapt. "Where were you?" I asked. "I'm sorry," he said. "I had to visit my sister. She was sick." I smiled, relieved. "I'm glad you're back." Daniel held the umbrella over me and said, "Let's go for a walk." We walked in the rain, the city lights sparkling around us. I felt warm inside, like I had found something I didn't even know I was missing. Years passed, and Daniel and I grew closer. He was kind, patient, and everything I had ever wanted in a partner. Now, at 30 years old, we're married and living in a small house with a garden. Sometimes, when it rains, we take our red umbrella and go for a walk, just like we did that first night. Looking back, I realize how much that one rainy day changed my life. A small act of kindness, a red umbrella, led me to the love of my life. I also think about Alex and the lesson he taught me. That night was hard, but it made me stronger. It taught me to value myself and to never settle for less than I deserve. Life is full of surprises. Sometimes, the hardest moments lead to the greatest growth, and the smallest gestures can change everything. I'm grateful for where I am today, happy, loved, and looking forward to the future. Every now and then, I think about Alex and what happened that night. I've heard from friends that his life didn't turn out well. He struggled with drinking and had 2 failed marriages. While I don't wish him ill, I can't help but feel a sense of closure. That night was a turning point for me, and it set me on a path to finding true happiness. Daniel and I often talk about our pasts, and I've shared my story with him. He's been incredibly supportive, and he's helped me see that my experiences, both good and bad, have shaped who I am today. "You're strong," he always says, "and I'm proud of you." Now, as I sit in our cozy living room watching the rain fall outside, I feel a deep sense of gratitude. I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned, the love I've found, and the life I've built. Daniel and I are planning to start a family soon, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. Life is a journey, and it's not always easy, but if you stay true to yourself and keep moving forward, you'll find your way. I've learned that love isn't about grand gestures or fairy tales. It's about finding someone who respects you, supports you, and makes you feel like the best version of yourself.